Mike, turn your games down.
Another recovered episode of Games My Mom Found, where we take a look at a game that we covered before, and we go back to it. I am Mike Albertin, and who's holding a pillow with me tonight?
Hey everybody, it's Kenneth Sanity. Much like this game, I am both a blessing and a curse.
This is Joe Butler, and I sure hope y'all got y'all's tetanus shot today, because I'm putting my whole fucking arm down this toilet.
You wouldn't need a tetanus shot for that, I don't.
Hello, it's Nate. I can't think of a good Silent Hill 2 thing, because all the good ones have been taken.
You could say that you're horny for mannequins.
Hello, it's Nate. You'll have to edit this in, Mike. Hello, it's Nate, and I am so horny for mannequins.
It's funnier if I don't edit it, then, to be honest. So we are here to talk about Silent Hill 2. We're going back to a game that we covered, episode 80, which I had to go and find, which was not as easy as I thought. That was back in July 20th, 2020. It's been 4 years. And so I have bitched about this game for 4 years now on this podcast, and I need to apologize to the game because I was not in the right mental state when I played this game and talked about it, and I have bitched about it. I'm pretty sure for 4 years I've cut down this game because I was wrong, because I was in a very my other two co-hosts had just quit the show. This was an episode that I was excited to do with them because they were both big horror fans, and then it was the other guy that joined me, Hughes, and he wasn't a big horror fan, and neither of us were like in the mood for this game. But since it was announced, I did it anyway, and I did not appreciate this game the way I should have. Looking back at it now, like, yeah, it's not bad. There's my apology. So, and this was developed by Team Silent, published by Konami, and came out in 2001. Oh, and there will be spoilers for Silent Hill 2, obviously, is what we do. The only reason I'm saying that, because the remake is coming out shortly by the time, depending on when you hear this will be released before then, but just in case, there will be spoilers for Silent Hill 2. So we'll try to wait till later before we do some of the big spoilers, but there will be spoilers, but I will try. If I remember it, there will be a warning before we get there, but just be warned.
Besides a spoiler warning, Mr. Kenneth Sanity, can you give me one of your patent listener warnings as well? Because we're going to get into some very, very hot topics in this game.
Oh yeah, everybody. Hey, guess what? This is officially your warning of concern. We're going to be covering some very grim topics here, such as, murder, sexual assault, regular assault, all sorts of emotional abuse. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to get into it. So please take this as a warning. Make sure that you take care of yourself. We appreciate the listeners, but if it's going to bother you, if it's going to upset you, we don't want you to do that.
5 stars, as always, Mr. Kenneth Sanity.
And there's 600 other episodes for you to listen to on this podcast. So, all right. I always like to start with the memories of a game that we played. So I'll go first. The first time I played this game, I was in Statesboro, Georgia. Somebody out there might get that reference, depending if you're in Georgia. It's a very small town. I don't think I had a PS2 yet, or maybe I did, but not at the time. I didn't bring it with me. My uncle, we went to Blockbuster. Remember those places? And we rented a PS2, and we rented a couple games, and he picked out Silent Hill 2 for some reason. He's like, this looks cool. Didn't know anything about game. Nothing. He just picked out a couple games that he thought would be cool to try. And I sat in the dark and played this game for the first time with no internet. I had no fucking idea what I was doing, and got to the town and couldn't figure out what to do. And then the game went back because we only had it for a few nights. And then I went and played this later on. I went and bought it at EB Games and beat it and enjoyed it, and then played it for the show 4 years ago. Ken.
Oh man, I got a lot of memories here. I first played this on the Xbox because I was an Xbox boy. I did not get a PlayStation 2 until maybe 12 years ago ish. But I love the first game, obviously, and I knew this had come out for PlayStation 2, and I was pissed. I was salty, and I did eventually get to play it when it was released for the Xbox. And I was just blown away consistently. I remain blown away by this game to this day. It's great.
Joe.
I also, too, very much love this game. This game actually means a lot to me, mainly because this is probably hands down my favorite video game of all time. Like I mentioned before numerous times, I I bought the movie at Blockbuster, the Silent Hill movie, and me and my sister watched it. And then from there, she went and bought like every single thing possible. I think she owns like the Xbox and the regular and the special edition of this. It's crazy how many versions of this game there are too. But yeah, I love everything about this game, and it means a lot to me. So I'm excited.
Did she get it on current console? Oh, wait, sorry, never mind.
She has like 2 different versions of the disgusting HD remake as well.
That's not current consoles.
You can play 360 games on your Xbox One, yeah.
I forget that. And Nate?
I first played this on Xbox as well. I had played Silent Hill 4 and Silent Hill 1 before then. Really loved it. I still love it. I am a defender of the PlayStation 3 version of the HD collection, because I think that's the only collection that got patched, so it doesn't run as poorly. It still runs pretty poorly, but it doesn't run as poorly as it did at launch. But yeah, I would put this in my top 10 of all time. It's a phenomenal game.
All right. I'm happy to have you guys with me for this. This was a game that needed to be talked about on this podcast again, and talked about in the light that it deserved, because I was not in the right mindset when I played this game last. When I went through this game, I played it this week on the Steam Deck, because of course, and it even though I know the story and I know what you're doing, I was able to appreciate the game for what it was, and it didn't bother me this time like it bothered me in 2020. But also, 2020 was the end of the world, and I was not in a good mindset to be playing a very depressing horror game. So, I think that plays a big part in it too. 2020 fucking sucked. So,
yeah, it wasn't great. It was a little kind of a bummer of a year.
This game is depressing. Still depressing.
I don't know.
I think this game's depressing.
I think it's a bummer, but I wouldn't call it depressing.
I think it depends how you look at it.
Yeah, this game doesn't have a canon ending. So, and because it doesn't have a canon ending, there are so many ways you can interpret the entire thing.
There is no canon ending. There are some fans that will argue that there is a canon ending because there are certain things you need to do to get a certain ending that involve getting that ending that you need to listen to get the full story. And then you have other people who I also agree with, at least on that point, that there is a confirmed bad ending, which is probably some people think or is the most romantic ending of all.
We'll wait to get to those, but yes.
According to the staff that made the game, there's no canon ending. I don't give a shit what some fans say. If the people that made it say there's no canon ending, fuck you, there's no canon ending.
Yeah.
And I'll go with that then.
And there hasn't been a sequel or anything that played off of this game, so therefore you can't even reference that and saying, hey, look, they said that this... we are getting a remake this year that will be coming out shortly after this is released. Weird. But, like a month later. So things could change. That could give us a canon ending, but that's neither here nor there. The way this game starts off, for those that don't know, is that James gets a letter from his wife that says she's in Silent Hill, but his wife has been dead for 3 years. So he goes to Silent Hill. And we have to think about it, this is only the second time we've ever been to Silent Hill. We hadn't had any of the spin-off. We hadn't had anything else yet. This is our first, time coming back to it, and our first time on PS2.
Mm-hmm.
We get a great trilogy of games on PS2. Great trilogy, people. 2, 3, and 4 are great. And so this must have been such a big deal when this came out.
Surprisingly, it wasn't. I remember, as the kids say, the reviews for this game were mid, because I think people always post it whenever the anniversary of this game comes up, or with the remake coming out too. I think Game Informer gave it a 7 when it first came out, and then I think it got pretty much like 7s to basically it was playable, is what people said.
So before I bought this game, I had seen it at a GameStop used, and I always went home and Googled reviews for it because I was a teenager. I'm not wasting money on a bad game. And seeing it,
money to waste.
Yeah, and seeing it have such mid reviews, I was on the fence about it because I was well, I don't if it sucks, and I was yeah, but I enjoyed Silent Hill 1 and 4, and I was whatever, I'll bite the bullet. I'll spend I think it was $20 or $25, And then I was this game is a 9 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10. What are people talking about?
That surprises me. It shouldn't, but
nothing surprises me. If anyone's familiar with what is it? Cuphead. People couldn't get past the intro, which was funny. Or I think what was it? That was my favorite thing of all time, which is it was widely known for because the first one came out and the other games came out. Nier Automata got mid to great reviews, and I think the favorite one I've ever seen of all time is IGN gave it like a 7, and they're like, the game feels really incomplete. When I beat the game, it just kind of ended and nothing really got explained, and everyone made fun of IGN because the guy didn't know you were supposed to replay the game like 2 more times, even though the game tells you, hey, the story's not over, replay the game twice.
Yeah, that seems dumb.
So what I'm hearing is IGN is not to be trusted. Got it.
IGN's never to be trusted.
That is true also.
Also, I think this game in 2001 was it was fresh, you know? It was new. Like, not a lot of games were tackling mature themes in a way this game was. So, like, I could see, like, you know, reviewers going in and being like, oh, cool, a new horror game like Resident Evil, you know? And then just being like, oh,
That's
that,
fair.
you know, this is more oppressive atmospherically than any Resident Evil game that has come out before. So, like, yeah, I could see people just being a little turned off by it and being like, what the hell did I just play? Like, I don't want to go to games to feel emotions, you know?
Well, like, you bring up a really good point, though, with the Resident Evil, because I would argue the first one kind of had inclusion in that Resident Evil kind of camp. Would we all agree with that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like the first one.
Yeah,
This one,
it's
I think,
a Resident Evil clone, for lack of a better word.
yeah, this one is where Silent Hill, I think, effectively stepped out of Resident Evil's shadow and became its own thing. Like this, you can't really compare this to Resident Evil.
No, absolutely not.
Try.
You can try, but you would be wrong. Like, there's so many.
I wouldn't stop the internet.
Well, the internet's done. We've already covered that. Like, you got a lot of weird stuff going on this year. Like, this year also saw the release of Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. And we all remember how that worked out. Like, this, oh God, what else happened in 2001? Grand Theft Auto 3.
9/11.
9/11.
9/11.
Yeah,
like,
big moment. Which I just Googled to see when in 2001. This came out on September 24th. So, like, 2 weeks after 9/11. Like, I can kind of see why people were like, I don't know, like, if I want to escape with a video game and not be reminded that the world sucks. You know?
That's completely fair. That's something you always have to look at every time that you try to look at a game that comes out around this time in 2001. You have to look at, like, is it before or after? Because culture is a lot different after.
We got really racist after 9/11.
That too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, so it's official. I am now choosing to think of Alan Jackson's song, Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning? That is no longer about 9/11. That's about when this game released. Perfect. Done. Good.
And speaking of history of video games real quick, this is a real tangent. I know, have you all ever seen, like, because I grew up like with G4 as a kid and X-Play and all those other games. One of the things, which Metal Gear also goes into that and a bunch of other Japanese games, we were super racist to the Japanese back in like the 2000s. Like, especially because everyone knows Konami. So you have what is essentially probably, I'm sure there's a line of dialogue somewhere where it's like, oh man, the Japanese made this weird game that's based in America about like horror. And it's weird and has weird like themes to it. So obviously people are going to give it like mid reviews because they're, you know, we didn't have brains back then and went with it what everyone else thought.
I mean, that's fair. I think a lot of it also is just we're a racist country at times, quite often. Still are.
Yeah.
Like, it's in there. And I think when it comes to, especially in 2001, where the country really bands together because of a traumatic event, it makes sense that they didn't like something that displays this American town as hell. I think that's probably played a part in it too.
I mean, there might be something to that, but
It's not the greatest place in the world.
no, we don't. We fucking suck.
I mean, sure, we might be better than some places. Sure, I'm sure we're better than North Korea. 100% sure of that one. But like, there's issues, and people get a little too crazy about America sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, like yesterday, I saw it firsthand. One of the demolition derby cars had a freaking Trump flag on top of the car, And I was so happy when he got knocked out and his car got destroyed. I was so happy. That's what it made me think of. But no, I think that could definitely play a part in it, like how people were thinking about this game, and that it does portray. But again, Silent Hill is not a real town. It's just it's a fictional town that is evil because of a cult, or who knows what. Do we really have a reason why at this point, or why people live here?
Well,
maybe
Silent Hill did approach the cult, but I don't really think by the time this game came out, I don't really think that there had been anything fully established, as we haven't gone into the cult like we did in, Origins and Silent Hill 3 by this point. So it's a place. And I think that's something that we should talk about too, is that this is only the second time you've seen Silent Hill at this point. And it goes completely in the opposite direction of what 1 did.
Yeah, there is I think it's in the park after you leave or before you go to the hospital. It's like a memorial about a ship that sunk or a fire or something. Basically, it was hey, something bad happened here forever ago and it killed a bunch of Native Americans. And now it's kind of believed to be cursed,
Yeah.
And I think that was this game's explanation of what Silent Hill is.
I think that's cool.
There's a moment in the game, because we're probably gonna bounce around the game just for a little bit. Plus, I love going about behind the scenes features, especially about this game, because that's some of my favorite facts. But there is whenever you enter the Silent Hill Historical Society, to get the key in front of the key, obviously, there's a big statue, and it said thanks to something that they lost their lives or something like that. It is very much blanked out to be the Christians, that the Christians were persecuted or something like that. So it's pretty funny.
Okay.
It said the Christians were persecuted?
It was something like that. I just know that the way it's censored, but you can go into the game files and see the uncensored version, and it says the Christians. I think it was the Christians persecuted people, might have been what it was.
That sounds more accurate.
Yeah.
That's my kind of place. I want to move there.
That's what happens throughout history and U.S. history completely. So, that's more accurate. Especially if you're talking about Native Americans, that feels completely fitting.
Oh, I'm specifically on the side that we should persecute Christians. Make that 100% clear.
I knew what you meant, but I'm glad you put it out there.
But they already are being persecuted, Nate. They're not being told gay
not
people
persecuted enough.
All right, anybody out there listening, here's a spooky moment for you. Season's greeting.
Oh no!
I'm sorry, that was rude and funny. So
it was funny. That was actually really funny. I don't know why people get upset about that dumb shit. I don't give a shit what somebody says to me. I actually prefer they don't talk to me, so I'm okay.
It's because if they didn't have something to be angry at, they wouldn't have any personality.
Hate does sell. I don't use it as a method for marketing the podcast, but it does sell. So I get it. Look how many angry YouTubers there are out there that they're
Why? It's more fun to enjoy things. Enjoy things.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, don't spend time hating it.
I did hate a game that I just played for the show, but that's because I had to complete the series.
Oh, no, you're not allowed to be mad about that, Mike. Mega Man X7 is known as the worst Mega Man game ever.
Oh, it is. It is. Go listen to that episode if you haven't yet. Because it's out by now. So, woo. No, it's just people are stupid. But no, I think this game does the world building this game does for what becomes the Silent Hill series is so good. And what James goes through, the idea he's looking for his wife, and then he runs into this woman that looks just like his wife, but sexier, named Maria. There are so many little things in this game that if you don't pay attention, you won't put 2 and 2 together what's actually happening. If you just rush through this game, some people might have for this podcast, because I already played it before and I know what the story is, you won't catch any of that. You won't catch all the metaphors and the symbolism and what's actually happening to him in this town. This isn't just him trying to get to the hotel where him and his wife were because somebody tells him later on that she's there waiting for him. So many things happen to him in this town that are representation of what he's going through.
The main thing that I hate, which I want to bring up as well, and it has nothing to do with this game. I hate that they reference into to something that I can't remember, but this game very much caught lightning in a bottle, and it's something that's completely they've never been able to replicate, and I don't know how. The whole concept behind James's story, that what he goes through, is incredibly amazing, and they've tried to replicate it 4 times and can't do it because they don't understand the theme of what also is going on.
Okay, so this is why I said blessing and a curse at the beginning. Because this is the watershed moment for the Silent Hill franchise. This is a game that people talk about years and years later. Correct? Here we are now.
Yes, I was going to say.
23 years later, and we're still talking about this game. We are on the eve of a remake. We're on the supposed night of a release for the movie version of this, which I'll believe it when it happens. But there's a reason we still talk about this. And unfortunately, some companies, Konami, don't learn the right lesson.
Oh, Ken, you forgot the important one. They also specifically turned 2 into a pachinko machine.
That, who gives a shit? It's pachinko.
Yeah, well, the reason we give a shit is because pachinko replaced what we love and they didn't bring it back. Like, if you just had what we love and pachinko, I don't give a shit if you want to make money off pachinko, but it's the fact that you went, games? What are games? Pachinko machines! And that's where you go.
That's on Konami, but we still have these games, kind of. It'd be easier if we had them easily playable.
Yeah, and that's another issue, is that a lot of people don't do what I do. I mean, there's a lot of people that won't mess with emulation, that won't go down that road, and there isn't a very good version of this game to play in today's world.
That is wrong.
PS3 HD collection is fine.
So there is a website that is called the Silent Hill Enhanced Edition website. All you have to do, and even funnier, there's another website called the Abandonware website. You can look up how Silent Hill 2 PC Edition. It's basically there. It even has on the website the instructions how to download it. I played this game beautifully. There's some things you don't even notice because of how fucking cranked up it is. Give an example. There's posters for the strip club with Maria's face on it in the bathroom. And you'd never be able to see that in regular versions or the shitty HD remake.
That's cool, but that's also something that a lot of people wouldn't mess with.
It's super easy. It takes 2 downloads and then
yes,
a little,
but that's more. Plus, there's the stigma for some people against that you're pirating. So there's also that where people won't go near it because the cops are going to show up at your door. There's no physical way to download the PC version of Silent Hill. That's why it's on an abandonware website. I know, but people still get. Some people will. I've gotten arguments with people online about stuff like this. So there are people out there who still just no. I get it. Hey, if you can buy the game, buy the game. I will always buy said game if able. Even if I'm going to play the emulation, I will buy it on Steam if you give me the option. But if I got to go buy it from Mr. Fuck You Over John on eBay, I'm not going to. I'm just going to pirate it. Hey, no.
I'm sorry, Mr. Who?
Fuck You Over John.
Okay.
You said you wouldn't reveal my eBay account. We talked about this.
I don't know. It sounded funny in my head.
On the lightning in a bottle comment, absolutely. They could never replicate this game. And they didn't try to when they made Silent Hill 3 and 4. It was with Homecoming on, I feel like Konami was okay, let's try to recapture that, those twists we had in Silent Hill 2. And there were twists, but not very good twists.
I haven't played Homecoming yet, but I like the rest of the ones that I have played. I just haven't played Homecoming or Downpour yet.
Downcoming.
Hey, don't worry, you get to make that joke a whole bunch coming up here. That's on the schedule. Homecoming is.
Downpour I thought was better than Homecoming, but the story in Downpour is still it's kind of rough.
The story's not great, but the game's fine.
The game is fine.
I'm looking forward to playing both of them in the next 2 years. So to finally play.
I have the reverse reaction. Homecoming is better than Downpour, but only because Homecoming has the Akira Yamaoka soundtrack.
Okay.
Born free.
Save that conversation for next time.
I want to yell right now, but I'm not going to because it's not about Silent Hill 2.
So I actually played this game with sound at all times because I feel like this game needs sound to play. Steam Deck is not the right way to play this game. That was me doing what I could do because I need to play quickly. The way to play this game would have been on a big screen TV, sitting in the dark to really enjoy it. But I gotta say, I fucking jumped constantly. Not because of the game, but because shit was happening around me that would go off and I go, oh shit, and then I jump up because it would scare me. So even though I'm playing this game on the easy difficulty, I know what the hell is coming up because I have a guide that I'm reading. It still would make me jump when something loud went around near me in real life. So the game still has that brooding atmosphere that you're on edge.
Also, I don't know if there's like a drop of demon's blood inside of all PS2s, but like, so I did two things with this game. I emulated this game. I downloaded the new PSX. I downloaded the new PSX emulator. I downloaded the PS2 version emulator and played it. My game crashed in the first 5 minutes.
It's because one of your settings was off.
Yeah, so I gave up and just did the enhanced edition, which like I said, I'm glad I did because that game is gorgeous. That version of this game is gorgeous. But yeah, even then, like I know there's a joke that always goes where it's like, oh man, this new game looks like a PS2 game, and it's like, excuse you, this is one of like the 30 PS2 games that are still. I'd rather have games now look like this than whatever the fuck, like having. Oh, I can see the ass sweat come off Spider-Man's butt. Like I just rather have this if it takes like 2 years off making games.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember ass sweat coming up in Spider-Man, but you know what? That's on me. And I don't know. I think that obviously there is something to be said. Survival horror, personally, once you got rid of tank controls, it fell off. Survival horror as a whole. Once you can move better, it's not as gut-wrenchingly terrifying. But there's also something to be said about crappy graphics. Like Silent Hill, the fog started because crappy graphics. Like you can't have a big world like that, so fucking throw some fog in there. And an aesthetic was born. So I don't know. It's one of those things where, God, I keep going back to blessing and a curse, man. Shit. But
that's fair.
It's a blurs.
Yeah, blurs.
It's a blurs.
I love it.
Get a new word.
Yeah, I mean, like seeing a monster in 4K, 60 frames per second hits different than seeing like 32-bit polygonal monsters, and you have to piece together like what that thing, like your brain has to come up with like, okay, that's a gorilla, like in Silent Hill 1, like in the rusted version of the town, you know, you're like, oh, that's a gorilla chasing me. I still don't know what is chasing you, like when you're running around at night in Silent Hill. But like my brain was like, yeah, that's a gorilla, dude, and it's gonna fuck you up. And I was like, okay.
It is gonna fuck you up, so
it's that scene
like,
it's that scene from SpongeBob where he's like running to the fucking trash can real quick, screaming.
Yeah. I'm looking for my daughter at night.
At night.
But you know, like, so it's a lot scarier what your brain can come up with versus like this is what the artist actually had in mind, you know?
Maybe I play too many retro games, but like I still like I don't know, I prefer graphics like this.
No, it's fine.
Okay. I know like when I played Alan Wake 2, I was like, my God, like man, graphics are gotten good. But then again, I really don't touch anything new, so I don't really want to.
Yeah,
but
there's nothing scary monster wise in Alan Wake 2, except for those. I take that back immediately. But that one monster that you fight in the old folks home that has like its duplicated version above and below, and it's like walking through water, you know, like that thing.
Oh yeah, that thing's pretty.
That thing looks cool.
I'm sorry, sir. That was a transitional care unit where you fight him.
I'm so sorry.
Your terms correct. Confuse people.
Sorry, everybody.
So
also known as a recap center.
There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff with this game, which is why also I think this game looks good. And they actually like broke it like 3 times. One of them, which goes into the themes of the game, originally the nurses' heads were supposed to be like condoms, and you could see a liquid sloshing around inside of them. And if you got a headshot, their heads would blow off into a weird liquid. The PS2
Please,
couldn't handle it.
Bloober team.
No, Bloober ain't what the fuck, but they couldn't get the PS2 to handle it. I think they said they would have to only figure out how to have one nurse on screen at one time for it to work, and they're like, it's not worth it. Eddie's, which I'll get into later, Eddie's throw up scene was supposed to have him legitimately rolling around on the floor in his own throw up, but the power went out and they lost everything. And they took it as okay, we're going to tone the scene down just a little bit.
That one's fine. They were smart to do that.
I feel like I watched a YouTube video earlier this year with like cut audio or a different take of Eddie throwing up, and it was more like gross sounding. And they were like, yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah. They I guess they probably kept the sound, but they found it. But I remember like I know tons of behind the scenes stuff about this game. But yeah, they lost all the footage due to a power outage, and they took it as a sign like we're probably going to tone the game down just a little bit.
Sad about that.
What is it? A lot of which is also great to do anyways. And we still do it now. to an extent. All the characters are modeled after the voice actors. The guy that voices James is Guy Seehee. Don't look him up now, because last time I checked, he was a firm believer that 5G towers created COVID. So, don't meet your heroes, folks.
Does that mean I have to use the Troy Baker audio on the PS3 version now?
No. If you want to, because apparently the only reason why the PS3 version has both their audio is because Guy Seehee convinced all the other voice actors to give up their rights, which isn't a bad thing because Konami is a piece of shit, and I believe the original voice cast does a fantastic job. You can't have Matt Mercer, beautiful, gorgeous Matt Mercer, doing his A game for like a character who looks like a tub of mayonnaise. So I much prefer have the original voice cast.
Look, I will say I played Silent Hill 2 earlier this year like 6 times, and every time I started a new game on it, I would alternate between the voice files, and that original voice cast just does such a phenomenal job of like voicing the characters they play and making it sound like they are just as lost as we are. And like then you hear Troy Baker and he's like, "Oh, I'm just looking for my wife," and it's like, that's not as convincing as Guy Seehee's version of like, "I got this letter from my wife, but she's been dead. I don't know what the fuck is going on, dude." Like,
it's very fitting of what you would be going through in this situation. I mean, I never played the HD version. I own a copy of it because I bought everything I could at the time, but I've never touched it. So I like the voice act. I thought the voice acting was good in this, but that's too bad that the guy turned out to be not. But hey,
if I remember correctly, though, wasn't there something kind of crappy about Troy Baker too?
Oh yeah, he hawked NFTs.
Oh yeah,
and he said, "Why hate when you can create?" He tweeted that out.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. No, he's crappy too, but I don't think he's blaming 5G towers for COVID.
So do you think he called a random FedEx store and told them that the 5G tower on their roof is causing cancer, and it's unfair that the nursing home that's right next to them is being all given cancer? That guy that answered the phone should call the mayor of the city and tell him to take it down?
Who hurt you, Mike?
That actually
COVID hurt all of us.
That happened to me once, and I was like, "What the?" I'm like, "Ma'am, can I help you?" She's like, "You need to do something about it." I'm like, "Ma'am, can I help you?" And then finally, I'm like, "I have to go back to work now. Goodbye."
Ma'am, this is an Arby's. Regardless that it was a FedEx store, you should just said it's an Arby's.
I don't know. It was just ridiculous. It was like, why? I did work at Arby's too once, so there's that too.
Some bigwig CEO is listening to this, and he's like, "We could put an Arby's and a FedEx. We could have the Arby's FedEx combo going on."
They did have coffee shops inside FedEx at one time, but that didn't work out.
The Arby's FedEx combo died within a year because the mail was absorbing the grease air from the Arby's.
Customers couldn't determine the difference between a FedEx box and the Arby's beef and cheddar.
Like, wait a second, I weighed this roast beef sandwich. There is not enough meat on here, like you said there was.
See, there's the problem, right? That's the issue.
When I used to work at Arby's, that's what we did. We'd cut off the meat. I mean, I'm sure they still do it. You weigh how much meat goes on there. Like, I'll make sure it has this much ounces on every sandwich.
Oh, was the Arby's you worked at, Mike, wet or creepy?
It was an old butcher shop at one time.
So it's wet. Okay.
Both. Somehow both.
Speaking of wet and creepy, one thing, speaking of Konami or American Konami never getting Silent Hill right, one thing that is very much shown in this game too as well, which we'll get a little bit more into it once we go through the story, is that where Silent Hill 1 went more metal and like rust, Silent Hill 2 very much goes more wet and decay and like falling apart.
But I think that fits the theme of what James is going through versus what's his name, Henry in the first game?
Harry.
What Harry's going through. I mean, I think that plays a big part in it too. I mean, Harry's looking for his daughter, who happens to be half of a girl that was sacrificed, where James is looking for his wife, and James has a little bit of a sketchy past. So I think the decay and the rot that he's seen fits what he's also thinking because of the things that he went through. I feel like would do that to your psyche.
Fuck me.
You wouldn't get over what he did and what happened in his past, which we're not talking about yet. You would not be able to get past. So I think that's the game hinting that there's more to his story than you realize.
Yeah, you know what? Here's your spoiler.
Okay, you're right. Let's go into it.
Spoiler warning, everybody. the door's open now. We're going to talk about it. If you don't want to get spoiled for a game that you should have played 22 years ago.
Well, the only reason I did that is because of the sequel coming out.
The remake is coming out in like a month.
That's why.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's going to be the same.
Well, if you have never played it, stop this episode now. Either go play the PS2, go play the original, or wait until the remake comes out and then play through the remake. I have semi-high hopes for this remake coming out. I'm very excited to play through it, but seriously, this is not a game that you just want spoiled for you. Like, it is so much better to go through fresh.
Again.
All right, we can talk about it.
All right, so 100%, this town is dirty and wet and decaying and falling apart because James is going crazy as this game goes on and on. Like, there is no way in hell that he's not being driven insane by what he did.
Oh, yeah, yeah, dude's off his rocker.
I mean, I think that's what it would do to you. I think taking somebody's life, especially in a case like this, taking your wife's life, like, yes, you can look at it, his intentions were good.
No, they weren't.
They weren't, but some people would look at it as if they were good. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just more of stating what I think some people would look at it, depending on the person.
I am 100% on Team James as a selfish cunt.
Yes.
Yeah, James could play it off as a mercy killing, but the factors in of it was just that he was tired of it. Like, there was no selflessness going on. It was, I want to be free of this burden in my life right now.
Yeah.
So I have a theory which goes into a weird point that I will make once we go through the story. I am on the team of I don't think James technically did any. I think James did something wrong, but I am also on a point of you should not point fingers, mainly because I am married and I have had my partner tell me numerous times, if I am in a fucking coma, just end it. I don't care. If the doctor's like, hey, he might be good, he might not. It's a coin flip. And if my mom is like, keep me alive, when they leave the room, pull the plug. If I am completely confirmed brain dead, and I'm like, it's a tough call, babe. I don't know why you're asking me to make that.
But the difference in that is that Mary wasn't in a coma. She was awake. She was just in deteriorating condition. And then, because like when you're running or when you're walking through the hall in the hospital, because you should listen to that conversation that they have, she is like very mean and nasty to James, and then she's immediately apologetic. Like, so she is 100% coherent of it.
So since we're in spoilers and we're talking about cut, I was talking about cut content, and since we're here, fun fact as well, in the beginning of the game, if anyone wants to do that real quick, it takes 2 seconds. Go boot up a new game, and whenever James goes to the car, you can see the inside of his car with a map. Masahiro Ito, I got that right, Ken?
Yep.
Masahiro Ito confirmed, which was cut because they said it was too dark. In New Game Plus, if you went to go get the map, you would see Mary's body in the backseat.
Oh, man, that's fucking dope.
Yeah. On cut content as well, the videotape you watch, they originally had audio of the actress who played Mary, like, doing it's online. You can just like Google it, but it is very it's bone chilling. Like, I'm like, did they actually smother her? And they were just like, yeah, we got the take we needed. Like, it is.
Are you okay?
Insane. Yeah. I'll be honest. I'm glad they cut that out, because that is just like, that's way too chilling.
No, that's fair.
Nah, they should have left it.
I think they should have left it because it's kind of hard to tell what James is doing in that videotape. Kind of.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I know the Xbox had better specs, but like when I played it on Xbox originally, like I was like, oh yeah, he's killing his wife there. That's a pillow. But yeah.
I mean, that's how I see it too, and I didn't have any problem recognizing it for what it is. But I can also see where Joe's coming from with this. So I don't know. I mean, I knew what was happening, I think, when I first played this game, or when I got to that point, because I remember it being a big deal to me. I was like, wow, when I first got to this, and now it's kind of just like, but it doesn't hit the same, unfortunate.
I'm sorry for jumping straight to the end there. Spoilers, but,
we have tons to talk about, if anything.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you start the game off by going down into the which also I love too, because if you ever notice, there's footsteps behind you whenever you go from the car down to Silent Hill. You meet the first character reaction, which apparently blew people off, but I think what people don't understand back then, which people understand now, thankfully, because everyone has a good amount of media literacy. That conversation at the beginning of the game between James and Maria is a conversation between two fucking crazy people.
Angela?
Oh, yeah.
Do you mean Angela?
I mean, Angela, my bad.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, Angela's going through her own crisis, so, but yeah. So they're all real people, right? Like Angela, Eddie, the little girl he runs into.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all.
Maria's also a real
Somehow
person.
Ended
They're
up
all
this
in that
insane
town.
place.
Yeah. They just see different versions of the town. And that's evident when you last see Angela in the hotel. And she starts walking up the stairs and he's like, wait, there's fire. And she goes, oh, you see it too. It's always like this.
Hands down sells the entire game for me. That conversation between like James and Angela in that final moment with the fire and everything, and her basically, which is even sadder because there is a point where people do argue like, oh yeah, James does deserve it, and there's that argument back and forth. Angela does not deserve anything in this game. That girl deserves a warm blanket and a hot cup of chocolate.
No, but
because
this fits what when you go. I'm assuming if you go through something like that, that's what your mental state is going to be like.
Which
You blame yourself. I think that's just how that works, unfortunately.
I want to be mad over the last Silent Hill 2 remake trailer again and how shittily people treated Angela's character model on that. Because it's like, she's not meant to be a sexualized character at all. Like,
But every woman must be sexualized.
yeah,
Did you
and
know
people
that?
are like, "Oh, she looks way worse," and I'm
Okay,
like,
completely
"Shut the fuck up!" Like, you know, I'm like you.
But people
are
think that, like,
being
Yeah.
terrible.
people. I mean, when it
So
comes to video
mad
games,
about
people
that.
really think that every single female character needs to be like overly sexual. Like, I don't know, but yeah, people think that. So,
well, a lot of the thing too, which people don't understand either, which I get and I don't get because you could get that away with anyways, is Angela in the remake trailer is supposed to look younger. And the reason why she's supposed to look younger is because a lot of people in the original did not understand that she's supposed to be 16 and she looks like she's like 25.
Yeah,
what?
Yes, Angela
she's
is
supposed to be
16.
underage.
Which,
She looks like she's in her mid to late 20s, if not early 30s. In that
Yeah.
model.
And this is where we run into the problem with graphics. Like, if your graphics aren't great, you got to explicitly state some shit.
well, no, it's part of the story. It's explained that Angela very much is being abused, and being abused is making her look older. Like her dad makes her look older.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, it's not a graphics thing. It's on purpose.
Okay, because I mean, the game doesn't say it, but there's that when you go to Angela and you go to her boss fight, and the way the room is looking, it's 100% showing that he raped her.
Yeah,
Because you see cylinders going in a flesh-shaped hole, like they are 100% trying to make sure you know, like, yeah,
Yeah,
they're not hiding it.
it's bad.
There's also a note later on that I think confirms that the dad does rape her, and I think it also implies the brother might also do the same thing too.
It definitely does, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Which is why during the burning staircase scene, there are 2 dead bodies.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and I believe it's also heavily hinted that, or Angela states that her mom blamed her for it all anyway.
Yes.
But like even the boss fight in Angela's room is very designed, like it is designed specifically to not so subtly tell you that that's what's going on.
It looks like a shitty apartment.
Yeah. Just I don't know, just emotionally devastating to see, to be honest.
It's meant to be. Like, that's what they're going for. I mean, and how many games at this time really are touching on aspects of like this? You know, probably not a ton.
Also, as usual, that the thing that completely makes that whole scene even 20 times better is the soundtrack by Akira Yamaoka, because that piano playing while they're having that conversation is just chef's kiss.
100%. Like, I think, like, Silent Hill 1, good soundtrack. That's a pretty good soundtrack. This, light years ahead. Absolutely, just, it's almost like a quantum progression. It is so much of an improvement over the first one, in my opinion.
I agree.
Your
But,
opinion's
like,
right. So
Everybody feels more comfortable with the ideas that they're trying to present here, which is why I think this is a game that holds up so well and presents itself so well.
So like going back to Angela's story is something that like I've thought about over the years, and it's really crazy in 2001 that there is no like I guess shitty comment from James would be like, oh, well, you're hot, so you know, like there's no gross thing like that I feel like pervades a lot of media when stuff like that comes up, if that makes any sense. It's
Okay.
it's all handled respectfully, and which is just wild to see, especially coming out of 2001, where a lot of that stuff was not handled well at all.
And that's completely fair. Like, you're looking at it from a fair point of view. Things are not people. I mean, I feel like if this was God, I am worried about that remake a little bit, but I'll play it someday. No rush. But
I am not worried about that remake because
you trust Team Blueber?
No, I trust Masahiro Ito. He was there with he was there with a stick, and in fact there was, which I'm not that worried, but now I'm reverse concerned because originally the game was supposed to have kind of a time skip. James was supposed to. James is 20 in the newer game. In the remake, he was originally supposed to be 30. That you can tell that from the original trailer that came out. They backpedaled on that apparently, and also Masahiro Ito also said too. He's like, the game's fine, but don't expect a lot of new content because we got in a fist fight with Bluebird because Bluebird didn't want to add anything new. So there's some new things, but not a lot. And I'm upset because I'm like, fuck, what isn't added that I wanted to see but isn't going to be added?
Yeah, that's fair. And we'll see. As I was playing through this game, I really appreciated the grittiness. I appreciated the enemy design because they all make sense. Like the couple scenes you have with Pyramid Head, who we haven't even talked about yet, like how fitting he is in this game.
Yeah,
what James was going through.
Very fitting in this game. Only this game.
Because Silent Hill is a place that takes who you are and amplifies it.
Yeah, it's a punishment. Silent Hill is a hell of your own making, which is why for Angela it's always a burning staircase. It's always like that because Silent Hill is a hell of your own making. Like James is going to he's a sex pest. James is a sex pest. He really is. Because look at his monsters. All of his monsters are highly sexualized. Even the thing that is meant to torment him is kind of hot.
Butt cheeks are out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's also fucking mannequins, too.
Yeah.
Which are supposed to be women. So
yeah, he's fucking mannequins, which are only the image of women cut off at the waist, removing any hint of personality or personification to them, and just leaving them with the sexual part.
It could also be argued that he's killing them because it kind of looks like he's shoving them down the garbage disposal at some point.
That too. He's killing them.
Yeah. But the thing that I do love about this game, which is it brings up this whole conversation, you're not supposed to figure out what it is, which goes into a great conversation for this game. Is Pyramid Head have raping monsters? Is he killing them? You could technically go off both because of how James is, and it's just a great way to show off that this game has multiple meanings that you could always read off of.
That is fair.
Now, I like to go into probably what is the funniest thing, because I played this game way too many times, and I had a really fucked up theory, which goes into this whole situation. James might actually be clinically insane. And by that, I mean, like, I think he lacks impulse control. And I say that because there's a bunch of instances throughout this game which proves he might not. One being the joke that I made earlier, where he literally looks at a toilet that's clogged and goes, I wonder what's in this toilet. And he shoves his whole hand down the toilet. He shoves his hand in multiple holes. He shoves his hand down multiple holes and just doesn't think about it. And
but don't we all shove our hand down multiple holes? I mean, really?
They're later through the game, there's just a hole in the ground. Without thinking, he's like, "Oh, I'm supposed to go this way," and jumps down. He could break every bone in his body, but he doesn't think it. And there's even like even like talking to Angela, and even in the final sequence, I think of where she asks for the knife back, and she's like, "What are you going to use it for on yourself?" And he literally goes, his reaction isn't like I would never kill myself. Why would I even think about that? Which kind of goes into a weird, my own tangent where James doesn't actually understand the question, and he's fucking crazy.
Oh,
he is 100%.
Yeah, and then also it does make something where someone does have a like impulse control issue. It makes sense as to why he has that fight with Mary, and his first idea as he walks out of the room from the argument is, I should just go grab a pillow and smother my fucking wife because that's what she wants.
I mean, some of us just decide to get McDonald's on the way home from work, but I get it. I get it.
And some of us plan murder.
Like, it takes different strokes to move the world, is what I'm saying.
But also, you can just leave. fun fact about life that people might not know: he could just have left his wife there and moved on. Like,
he could.
People do,
but he strikes me as a person that really cares about what other people would think.
Okay.
Like, so if he left her, I feel like that would torment him just as much.
Okay.
If not less so. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Like, what people are going to think, oh, you abandoned your wife when she needed you. Like, you just left her there in the nursing home to die. Like, you piece of shit. And now you're off at the club. Like, yeah. No, I think that is a fair.
I just get that from the conversation about the knife too. It's just like, oh, I wouldn't kill my, it's like, I don't know if anyone was thinking that, James.
There's just so much to this game, and like everything is so well placed that it's all there for a purpose.
Yeah, or if you want to go into like my goofy impulse control thing, James is the kind of guy who goes take his wife, did they go to the hospital while she's in remission? A lot of that story kind of goes into weird situationals, but he's the kind of guy who takes his wife on vacation and she's in the hospital and he's like, oh, she's in the hospital, huh? I should go to the strip club real quick.
I thought you were going to say he's the kind of guy that laughs at a funeral. You can't understand what he means, but he soon will.
Get out.
I don't know.
Probably
would. Popped in my head and I had to say it. Okay. I didn't have a choice. But it was good after I derailed us. So one point that I kept thinking about while we were talking about this is when it comes to, like, you have Maria with you, and Maria joins you, and then, like, Maria is his wife but isn't his wife, and the way that she talks to him. And I feel like when I played this game in 2003, let's say, because I was at some point in high school, I would have thought that was like a pipe dream, that no woman's going to talk to a guy like that. What my brain would have thought. So I really appreciate the way they do that, because I like Sexy Maria. I like the idea that one of the nightmares and things that he's facing in Silent Hill is a sexy version of his wife being like, hey, you want to fuck me, don't you? Huh? Like, I like that a lot.
But does he, though?
I mean,
yeah, he does. He's like, a sexy lady here, but I do have a letter from my wife.
Yeah. I mean, that is almost verbatim the conversation he has with her, where he meets her and he's like, oh, you just look like this person. And she like kind of flirts with him. And then she brings up his wife and he goes, oh, yeah. Like, that is literally the voice line of like, oh, yeah, my wife, And it's like, James, what are you doing, buddy? Like, relax. But I mean, even later in the prison, after he thinks that Maria has died, he sees her in that cage, and she's like, "I'll be waiting." And he's like, "Yep, I got to get to you." Like he's like, "Absolutely, you stay here." Like,
well, so one thing that I do love, because like I said, the voice acting for these games are very good, which is why I don't know what Troy Baker does in that scene, but he does he does sound different whenever he talks to her, and she's like, "You're alive," and she's like, "I'm real. You just gotta come around and get me." His voice tone almost sounds like he's hypnotized, where he's like, "Okay, I'll go get the key. I'll be right back." Like he's in a trance.
And that works really for the character of Maria, because I don't know. I think Maria is almost like an idealized version of what he wishes Mary would have been.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair.
I also read into it as like that is his memory of his wife is kind of like the sexy version of her and not any of the other times they shared together.
I don't think the sexy version of his wife is real. Like I think it's because Maria's overly sexualized. Like I don't think that was ever what she was. I mean, yeah, that does fit. Like that's what he saw her as one time, because he's a piece of shit. Or is it just that the city is tempting him with something that to show him that, yeah, you're a piece of shit. You belong here in hell.
I think it's a little column A, a little column B, like a little mix of both there.
You're probably right, Bart.
But that's just how I read into it.
Same.
Did you just call me Bart?
It's a Bart Simpson joke. Little column A, little column B.
Oh,
right. Isn't that where the meme is from?
Or a genie from Aladdin joke?
Oh, I was thinking of the. I've never actually watched Simpsons. I just know the joke. I see the meme on sometimes.
I thought you just forgot my name. I was like, I don't know how he arrived at Bart. Like,
that's a good comment, Ben. I'm Nate. You heard me. Anyway.
I had too much to drink. This water is really getting to me.
Those ice cubes really hit right now. I want to talk about sound real quick. I played this with headphones one time.
Ooh.
And yeah, no, don't do that, because that is just do it, but don't do it. It is terrifying. In one of the apartment rooms, you walk in and there is like whispered voices, like that. So I Googled it, and apparently someone audio boosted it, and it sounds like it is someone is saying, "See my dead wife and come home, do some laundry."
Oh, that's fucking crazy. I never knew that.
It, like, just the whispering alone kind of freaked me out, because like Dead Space 2 does that too, where like every once in a while you'll just hear like Nicole say Isaac. It's just like it's so quiet. But yeah, like I was already creeped out, and then when I Googled it, I was like, no, fuck this shit, I'm out. This game is cursed. Do not play. You will be haunted.
You're not wrong though. You will be haunted. Like, this game does haunt you.
Oh, for sure. There has not been I'll be hyperbolic here. Not been a single month that has gone by since I initially played it where I have thought about this game.
As long as you never grabbed a pillow, then it's okay.
No, I go get a QPC from McDonald's.
What the hell's a QPC?
It's a very cool way to say quarter pounder with cheese. Just trust me.
Oh, okay.
I'll try that when I go to McDonald's. I'll take a QPC.
Very cool.
Like, what the fuck?
It's all the rage on the TikToks.
I can believe that. I don't know. Maybe this cap. Doesn't make us sound old than us making references to
on God.
Slang.
On God, brother.
But no, the sound is fantastic. Like, I didn't do any of that because I also didn't play this with headphones as I should have. I just had the sound on my Steam Deck at all times, but I couldn't play this without sound.
Actually, had the sound on your Steam Deck is a good thing.
Oh
yeah. You could make a list of how many times that happens in a game, and you won't have a whole lot. You won't be a lot on that list, but sound's on constantly.
The sound from this game that has lived in my brain rent free for years is the hotel squeak doors. That just lives rent free.
The sound adds so much more creepiness, especially if you're not reading a guide that tells you what to do word for word and where the enemies are, and you're not playing on easy. But like the game builds tension and makes you think there's things around the corner all the time just based on the sound that you hear. Yes, you have the radio that tells you, hey, there's something over there, but you also just have parts where just the atmosphere is just so good that this game is super depressing, and I think it does a great job of making you feel depressed to feel like what the game wants you to feel. I also like the fact that combat in this game is, I think, very well done. Like, this is one of the first horror games that I ever played as a kid, and I was able to play it because the combat felt good enough and my weapon didn't break and I didn't run out of ammo and I had a melee weapon. Like, I remember that was one of my complaints with Resident Evil as a kid, is that I run out of ammo. I didn't have a good melee weapon.
Oh, you say that. One of the things I'm very concerned about, Ken, I don't know if you have, Mike, but Ken, have you seen the gameplay trailers for the new Silent Hill remake?
I'm watching one as we talk.
So, like, I'm kind of concerned because it looks like there's a melee button now and a gun button, and it looks like the game just upgrades you from a wooden plank to a metal pipe, which makes me wonder if they'll add a third weapon as kind of like a melee upgrade. But I'm kind of on the fence with both and not, just because there's a really good scene of like James trying to like hit a nurse with a pipe. And if you try to like 3-combo her on the third combo, she can grab your pipe and like chunk you back, which is cool. But also it's like, I am not mentally prepared to deal with like 3 nurses at once.
Oh no.
I'm optimistic for what this game will be, but I won't play it for a year, 2 years at least.
Oh, I'll be on day one on the remake, 100%. There's no way I can't be.
I can't buy games for maybe next year. If you guys can find me a good deal on, I might pick it up on a sale. So
see, here's the thing. This is the only reason why I'm supporting this remake. If we support this remake, maybe that will send a message to Konami that Silent Hill is necessary. Maybe we'll actually get, to play Silent Hill 4 on modern systems, even if it is just not even like a remake, but just like a up-res, here you can play it on this console now. Like, I would take that. I want Silent Hill to understand that, or Konami to understand that Silent Hill is a necessary franchise. It needs to be supported. And if I have to support it by paying $70 for it when it comes out, then so be it. because Silent Hill is an important franchise to me. It always has been. And that's why I will be playing it day one.
Are you playing it day one, or are you buying the $80 version where you can play it 2 days early?
I'm playing it day one. I am buying physical because fuck digital special editions.
But it's got the Pizza Hut Pyramid Head.
I don't need that. I can make my own IRL, which I might.
I will be buying the digital deluxe edition because I work Monday and I would very much like to play this game all weekend. So I'm going to barricade myself in my house with snacks to play this.
I think I might take vacation time for this.
I'm out of vacation time. I have a couple days left that I'm saving in case I can use them for sick.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take vacation time for this.
After hearing how the medium ended, I am fine if Konami makes Bloober Team like a Silent Hill 2 remake machine, just a Silent Hill remake machine, and just they can remake all of the good games and then just never let them develop their own.
Oh, so 1 through 4? Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and Origins. I think people like Origins.
Origins is fine.
Origins was fine.
I only played a little bit of it on a scout camping trip to Moab. Shout out my best friend for bringing his PSP, and we played in a tent late at night together and played Silent Hill Origins.
I think I liked Origins when I played it.
Yeah,
it was fine.
It's okay. It doesn't add anything to the story, or actually, I feel like it takes away more from the story. But
it does.
Oh.
It just messes things up. But I remember liking Origins. I mean, I would be, hey, if they want to remake all of them, I'm completely content and happy with that. I won't argue with that.
So
it doesn't take away what we already have.
Basically, the bottom line is support Silent Hill 2.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't
remake.
see myself.
Do it.
But maybe I'll pay $40 for it.
You gotta send Konami a message.
So
they gotta know.
Hey, well, I would be sending messages when I see if I actually saw one of their gambling machines out in public, I would try it. So there's that too, unfortunately.
Still, hey, if anybody wants to contribute to the fund, I found the Silent Hill patch slot machine on eBay, $1,300. Let's go.
So one thing that I like to think of, because we're talking about it a little bit more, and we're avoiding the stupidest character of all because I hate him. Yeah, but okay. Maria herself is also trapped in her own kind of eternal hell. One thing that I'd like to kind of it's looked at a way to play the game differently as we play it now. Also, I'm going to get into something really funny, but we'll go from there. Maria is trapped in kind of her own hell. She's kind of stuck being in a body that probably doesn't belong to her. In fact, I would probably argue she's probably trapped in her own head, like watching Silent Hill puppet her body around. One instance that kind of goes into it where when you get Maria, you leave her in a hospital room where she may or may not be sick. And when you go back, she's gone. And then later, when you find her, she's having a full-blown like freak out. She's bitching at James that he left her and she could have been in danger and things like that. But a little bit later on, after you have that whole conversation with her, you go down a hallway and she dies. I actually think her dying in that hallway is the reaction that she has earlier. So she's stuck in that loop at that point where she dies in the hallway and then she comes back to James freaking out, being like, how could you have, because she says like, how could you have left me? I could have been in danger. And it's like, I left you in a room. So
you think she's real?
Oh, she's real. The DLC explains she's real. She's a real person.
Okay, I did play the DLC back in 2020. I did not replay it, unfortunately, for this because I just didn't do it.
She's real, but she's very much being controlled. I say that because there are posters of her. If you have a save file of this on your PS2 and you play the Silent Hill 3, there is very much a poster for, what is it, Something Nights?
Haven Nights?
Heaven Night?
Yeah, there's a poster of Heaven Night with a dark-haired Maria on it. So, yeah.
Huh, okay.
So funny enough, she's probably the only stripper at Heaven Night, which is funny for a small town.
I mean, it could happen.
But also, Nate, I owe you the biggest apology. I went and saw the hard mode for that Pyramid Head hallway, and I don't understand how the team would think that was a good idea. Because every walkthrough I've ever seen is always like, don't fucking look back. Don't look back at Maria. Just ignore her and just run through the hallway. And I was like, oh, it must be the same thing for every mode. And then I looked it up, and it's like, oh no, in hard mode, you have to somehow manage to shoot over Maria's shoulder to hit Pyramid Head to slow him down and then get her through the hallway.
Yeah, no, she just walks into your gunfire She's like, "What are you doing, James?" And you just dome her in the head every time, and you're like, "Maria,
get out of the way."
Yeah, toughest part.
Sounded awful.
I really want to go and platinum this game because I like the platinum games that I enjoy / mean a lot to me. I don't think I'll ever be able to do it. Like it's that hallway is just so brutal.
You got past it though, didn't you?
Oh, I did, but I didn't have. That was just like on a practice run, so I didn't have the 75 shooting kills I needed. And so I had to restart, and I've not been able to get past it since.
Oh, that's fucking shitty.
I know.
One hard playthrough?
Huh?
I don't know what the trophies are, but
so you have to get a 10-star rank.
Oh, okay.
Because you have to. One of the trophies is for picking up the green hyper spray, which only unlocks after you beat the game with a 10-star rank. You can only get the 10-star rank doing hard mode for action and hard or extra for puzzle. And you have to kill 75 enemies with melee, 75 enemies with guns, and beat it under 3 hours. You have to like speed run the boat section. You have to do it in like 3 minutes and 20 seconds, but I got that down. That's fine. Yeah. But yeah, that hallway just like, I don't know. I get the yips when I go in that hallway, man. I get so scared.
Gotta say that the 2 times Maria gets killed in this game, both times she's pierced through the admin, it looks like, with a spiral object. So, or spiral is the word I want. I don't know, phallic object, let's say. Sword, spear, like, I feel like, that's very telling for what they're trying to tell you in the game.
Yeah, it's not just a clever allusion to anything. It's very beating your face in with
like when
context.
you see her in the cage near the end and she's upside down and the 2 pyramid heads both have spears.
Mm-hmm. Oh, James.
I appreciate it a lot more this playthrough. I'm like, okay, I see where you're going for game. You're definitely like you're doing it in a way that some people would not catch it, and I appreciate that. But for those that do catch it, like it's good. They're trying to tell you about James.
Speaking of 2 pyramid heads, I guess we'll have to get around to it. One character that also does not deserve to be there, but in a completely opposite faction of Angela, is Eddie.
Eddie's a real person then too, right?
He's also a real person.
Yeah.
Why is he here?
From what I gather in his backstory and interviews and other concept arts, Eddie's story is he is constantly being picked on, and then he went and grabbed his family gun or a family-owned gun or a gun that he knew about, and he was sick of being bullied, so he shot a dog, and the dog ended up eating its own intestines in front of him. So he went to his bully, which could argue that Eddie's also probably like 17, 18, and shot his bully in the kneecap, felt guilty, and ran to Silent Hill.
Okay.
Oh, I thought he killed his bully too.
Me too.
Like after he shot the dog, he went and killed his bully.
He might have been killing monsters, which with a line in Silent Hill 3 could be explained that they are people. But no, whenever you do his boss fight, he talks about how he killed a dog and how he shot a guy in the leg. He's like that.
He shot the bully's dog.
Oh, okay.
And then he shot the bully in the leg. He definitely deserves to be here.
I was going to say, he deserves to be here. I thought you were going to mention Laura.
He shot a dog. He deserves it, period.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but
he need to shoot a dog.
He's a fat guy. He's being made fun of. But to be fair, he's also more worried about eating pizza than taking care of a little girl. So, I mean, that's fair.
Also, fun fact, when I said don't shoot the dog, my dog looked at me and went, what about the dog? No one's shooting you, PETA. You're fine.
Me?
And she looked at me. She's like, what are you talking about shooting the dog? What are you talking about?
That's the saddest thing.
Like, I've been fat my whole life. I just have been. And people always made fun of me for it growing up. To best of my knowledge, I've yet to shoot a single person. So, yeah, Eddie deserves it. Eddie deserves to be here.
Yeah, I mean...
You want to talk about poor impulse control? There you go. Otherwise, like, dudes just be doing anything to avoid therapy. I swear to fuck. Jesus.
Kill your wife, shoot a dog.
Also, he has the same problem that James has, is that when James meets him, he's like, I didn't shoot that guy. He was dead when I got here, and that's why I'm throwing up. It's like, you're just telling on yourself, dude. Like, also in the apartments is, I don't know if it's his room exactly, but there's a room with like football posters over it, and then there's bullet holes in the wall too that kind of alludes, because wasn't his bully a football player?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So what about the girl?
What about the girl?
She just knew Mary.
Okay, that's how she ended up here.
It's implied because there's also a point in a letter where she talks about wanting to. In Angela's or in Laura's letter, she talks about how Mary would have adopted her. I think what we're supposed to gather is, so James takes Mary to Silent Hill because she's dying, and while she's there, she gets sick, so they take her to the hospital. While she's in the hospital, James goes and fucks around probably. But while Mary's in the hospital, she meets Laura. I have a firm belief Laura's in the hospital because both her parents are dead. Like, she's basically there waiting for someone to come get her.
Okay.
And while being there, she meets Mary, and that's how they end up becoming friends. Because, it's as much as people, I 100% agree, Silent Hill does not take place in any kind of timeline. Silent Hill very much takes place in between the 80s and 90s because, a hospital in the 80s and 90s would let a fucking 8-year-old child run around for no fucking reason.
Yeah, especially if their parents died. You're not right. Yeah. It's fitting. Different times, different procedures.
But that also... Go ahead, Nate.
I was going to say, I thought Laura was sick because I swear she talks about, like, being an orphan, and then this, like, she mentions the sisters. Like an orphanage ran by nuns or something? I could be making that up too. But I thought she was sick, and that's why she was in the hospital with Mary, and she talks about, like, she tells James about the sisters or something.
Does it come up for me? What about you, Ken?
I'm sorry, I just got distracted. I was trying to find more information about Laura because I didn't quite remember.
I have no idea.
And then I accidentally clicked on an article about Mary. And I never realized that Mary had a hyphenated last name.
What's her?
I never realized that Mary's full name is Mary Shepherd Sunderland.
Shut the fuck up! It is not.
Bull fucking shit! It isn't.
Does that mean something?
Oh, is that like the Glenn from Homecoming? Isn't that what the Glenn's name is?
Yes, the main character for Silent Hill Homecoming is Alex Shepherd, and they live in Shepherd's Glen, which is owned by his family. Tease for Silent Hill Homecoming. Oh, shut the fuck up, Ken. God damn it. I'm gonna go punch a wall. God.
It's gonna be even more fun. We talk about Homecoming now in a couple months. Okay. Doesn't mean much to me, but hey, all right.
What a conversation James and Mary must have had, where James is like, "Oh yeah, my dad is a superintendent of an apartment complex," and she's like, "Yeah, my parents own a fucking town."
I mean, to be fair, that hadn't happened yet, so. But yes.
Okay, it looks like I just made everything up. She's an orphan, and they were under the care of the same nurse.
Well, no, but that's fair, because what you're doing is could be remembering wrong, but also, like, the game doesn't give you the information straight out. That's part of what the game is. I think that's what makes it more exciting, is that the stuff isn't just handed to you. It's for you to find and for you to make your own conclusions at times.
But then I scrolled down further to Mary's final letter to Laura, and she says, Mary writes to Laura, "Don't be too hard on the sisters."
Well, don't be too hard on your sisters. Or the sisters, yeah.
Yeah, the sisters. So maybe it's a hospital ran by a church.
I think it's implied that she's going to go off to an orphanage because they can't adopt her.
That's fair. I mean, the hospital can't keep you. So I was just curious who she was, because, like, everyone is always in Silent Hill for a reason. So not always a good reason, but you're there.
And she could just be there. Like, she doesn't really have any encounters with monsters. She seems more annoyed than anybody. So, like, I don't know, maybe she's just there. Maybe that's why she's not fleshed out, because James was like, I don't fucking know you.
Well, I feel like she even tells James, like, because he brings up monsters, and she goes, "Monsters?" And is like, what are you talking about, dude?
I mean, the idea, she is a child, so, also could be very much, she hasn't committed things yet and done things that would have her have nightmares chasing after her. She didn't shoot any dogs. She didn't kill the bully. She didn't strangle her wife. So, I guess that's a good way to look at it, though.
I am just a child running through Silent Hill. Well, the other thing, too, which a lot of people seem to forget, too, is Silent Hill is a real place. Like, just because you're in the game as James and probably the other two characters don't see anything, like, Eddie gets a pizza that he's eating. Like, there's other stuff going on in the town, which makes it seem like if you're guilty in Silent Hill, you will be sent to the purgatory, ironically, like in the movie.
Silent Hill is the town that had the lowest crime rates because of that. Everyone was like, I'm not doing anything bad here.
Yeah, that is completely fair. Like, fuck this place. we rob a bank, we kill someone, we're going to be haunted by that person the rest of our life. I did want to play Born from a Wish before we did this episode. I actually had it all set up to go on my Steam Deck. I just didn't get around to it. But I have come around so much in Silent Hill 2, but after this playthrough in our conversation, I just gotta say that again.
It's okay. Before we go into like a whole like endings and things like that too.
Oh yeah, we gotta do that still.
Yeah, Born from a Wish is basically just you play as Maria, and she's basically in Heaven's Night and is like about to blow her brains out because she doesn't know what's going on with her body, because she basically just woke up looking like Mary, and she decides to go look around, and she finds this house, ironically owned by, I can't think of what the fuck that guy's name is. Oh, it's owned by Alex Baldwin or Ernest Baldwin. And you basically walk in, and the guy's like, "Hey, can you go look for something?" Honestly, also one of the creepier parts of the game, because you go, and his whole backstory is basically you find out that he says that he needs to go get like an item, and it's like a birthday card from his daughter. And I guess basically he's like a writer, so he's so obsessed with his work. His daughter went to go do something in the attic, and she fell down the stairs and died. And so whenever you get him the card, he basically goes, "Hey, Maria, can you not go meet James?" Because she's basically like, "I have a really bad hankering to go meet this guy, and I don't know why." And he's like, "Can you just not meet him? Because I have like a bad feeling about him." And when she opens the door, there's no one there, which is even weirder. And there's an item that he gives her, which is basically the drug that they keep talking about in Silent Hill 2, or Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 3. But it's also an item that you need for a New Game Plus ending. And whenever she sees it, she also gets like this weird trance, and she basically walks to go meet James, which is basically imply that the DLC is basically just her last final thought moment until she's taken over by the town to do what she has to do.
All right. Anything? Oh, and we should talk about the endings. So there's there's multiple endings. There's a dog ending you can get, which is just a joke ending that a dog is controlling the whole thing.
That's the canon ending.
I mean, they made a bank of it, so it might be. I'm not kidding. There's actually a coin bank of the...
No, I know you're not kidding. I've seen it. I've seen advertisements for it online.
I would save so much money if I had that bank.
It would all be coins, so I'm assuming.
So there's 3 original endings. So even though we're going to talk about endings, it's going to go a lot into going through the story because of it. One of the endings being, what is it called? The Leave ending, which technically, as I would say, normally would be just your basic ending. And that just has to go with you taking care of yourself as a character, but also not indulging in certain things throughout the game, which is basically just James leaving Silent Hill, realizing he's an asshole, which is fair. Also, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you know this, Mike. The depending on what ending you get depends on who your final boss is, because on certain endings it's Mary, and on other endings it's Maria, who has been fully transformed into Mary.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Well, in the Leave ending, what happened when you went up the staircase?
I thought Mary was waiting there for me. Or not Mary. Yeah, Mary, his wife.
Okay, so
and then she turns into that monster, I think. Then I killed her.
I know the In Water ending is Maria, because he goes up there and she's like, "Ooh, now I really look like your wife." And he's like, "What the fuck?" And then the Maria ending is also Mary, but the Maria ending is more of a, "I'm killing you so I could be with my new waifu."
That's even worse.
Yeah, does she not change? Does Mary not change into the demon with the Maria ending? Isn't she in like her pink sweater?
No,
she changes into the demon too.
Yeah, she always changes, okay. but the dialogue between them is always different, especially because you could say they get lazy, but it's fair where it's sometimes Mary, sometimes Maria, and it depends on the ending.
Okay.
But I know very much about the other endings. To give an example, the Maria ending is very much James admitting that he's in love with Maria now. He kills Mary. I also think the letters are different, but I don't know too much about that. But the Maria ending basically ends with him killing Mary. He's back at the lake where you meet Maria. Maria shows up, and like it's so funny, but it's so like I actually believe the Maria ending's the bad ending, because there's the voice acting's so good that Maria coughs and James is like, "You should get that checked out." And that's just how the game ends, with implying James is stuck in his own eternal hell loop of going to Silent Hill to get a new wife.
Yeah, I'd say that's the bad ending, but it's probably not the worst ending. I think the Rebirth ending is the worst one.
Oh, the Rebirth ending is my favorite ending, though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you would.
I think a lot of people like to argue the In Water ending is the true ending because there's a lot of requirements to get to it. Such as learning a lot of the truth. Give an example. You can miss it. You don't have to get it. I thought you had to, but you don't. there's a suicide note on top of the hospital you have to read. But usually whenever you read that note, you don't have to read that note, but you have to get hit by Pyramid Head into the fence to get knocked down to the bottom floor.
Well, that Pyramid Head has to knock you into the fence to continue the game. You cannot because there's a puzzle combo in there. But that note, I think once you read that note, it really weighs you heavily into the in water ending.
There is a which you have to, I think you have to listen to, because it is story important. You have to listen to a tape in one of the rooms which reveals where James gets his 3-year ideology from, because it's James talking to a doctor saying that Mary has anywhere between 2 weeks to 3 months to live, or 2 weeks to 3 years, which is a very long time span, honestly. Then again, though, it's the 80s. Also, Mary very much has Japanese woman illness, and from everything I've ever seen through anime, movies, whatever, it's always just tuberculosis, which is funny.
Well, when you need a disease that has unspecified effects, what better to use than a disease that's roughly been eradicated already? It just used to be wasting disease, I think, back in the day. That's what they used to call it.
Yes.
That's what some places still call it.
I think that's fair, though. I mean, you use something that the average public is not as aware of at this point, because times have changed.
Yeah, in the remake, they'll probably confirm it's cancer, though. That's usually the new thing that everyone does, but that's whatever. But you also, there's that conversation, the very, very heavy conversation of Mary screaming at James. You also have to listen to that whole conversation to get the in the water ending, which ends in the heartbreaking of, I look like a monster, so I hate myself. And then you hear James leaving and her crying to herself that she doesn't want to die, which is great voice acting. As much as when we talk about it, and I don't know her name, but the woman who voice acts Mary is just puts her A game. When I first played this, that ending note that you always get left me and my sister in tears because of how good it was.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it with the voice acting, because we had Final Fantasy X that same year. And while the voice acting in Final Fantasy X is not the worst, it's pretty bad. If you compare it to Metal Gear Solid 2 and even this game, they knocked it out of the park.
I like FF10's voice acting, sir. I like.
No, I do too. I do too. And in context, that scene is good.
Yes,
but
I like to make fun of it because people make fun of it.
But there's a lot of overreactions to, or that Titus's voice actor does, that just isn't that good of voice acting, I guess. But this, I can't think of a scene in Silent Hill 2 where it's that is bad, I guess, that's poorly voice acted.
And then the in water ending, also, you have to keep your health low. You have to keep examining the photo and the envelope, which has Maria's letter, which, funny enough, goes from being readable to having nothing on the paper to the envelope's been empty the whole fucking time, which I think is actually really funny.
You also have to examine the knife every once in a while.
Yeah, you have to examine the knife every chance you get. You have to look at the knife and be like, I'm not sure if that's blood or not, but why would there be a ketchup stain on this knife? And then we get to my favorite ending, which is the rebirth ending. What's the rebirth ending, Ken?
So you fight Maria, of course, and she monsters out like usual. After getting her, James rows a boat with Mary's corpse to the Church of the Rebirth on Toluca Lake Island, where he intends to use relics collected throughout the game to resurrect Mary with the help of the old gods of Silent Hill. Dumbest fucking ending.
I think it's very in line with what James would do. That's why I think it's my favorite ending, because that motherfucker is crazy enough to be like, I've been finding a bunch of weird shit around town. Might as well use it to bring my fucking dead wife back.
And see, I just hate it because James doesn't learn anything with this ending. He's still dodging his culpability in the events by being like, it's not a problem. If I just bring her back to life, then there's nothing that happened.
I mean, I think that's a fair way to look at, you're trying to repent for your mistake. So your version is, if I bring her back, then she never died. Therefore, I never committed murder. Therefore, I'm a good guy. Right? No, that's the idea.
But there's also that, we don't see if it works or not.
No.
So,
we never find out.
Who's to say that it doesn't work? And then, he's just more in shambles than he's ever been. And, then that's when he learns his lesson. But I do like Joe's theory is that he's just like super insane and that a jar of the white prism or whatever it's called, like it's just white out and he's showing it to church officials. They're like, look, we need to use this. Bring my dead wife back, please.
I don't like it. I want James to be punished, which is why I like In Water the best.
It is nice that they never tell us what is the canon ending, but I also feel like with Silent Hill and what we know about the city at this point, that there is no way he comes out of this unscathed. There is no way that he isn't punished because Silent Hill is not a friendly entity.
I like to think at the end of the day, to be funny, even funnier, which we talked about in the chat a little bit, none of the endings ever get confirmed, especially because in Silent Hill 4, that very much is James's father that owns the apartment complex. And I think there's a note you can find where he's like, I'm actually concerned. I haven't heard from my son or his wife in several years, and I've let the police know, and they haven't found anything, and I hate it.
Yep. And that's great. I don't want to know, honestly. I prefer to have a world where we don't know what happened, where I can just think, you know what, maybe James realized he's a piece of shit and he's down in Toluca Lake with his wife somewhere.
Yeah, it's also implied that too, because I think the idea they were supposed to have was that, like I said, in the originally you were supposed to be able to see Mary's body in the back seat. I think it's supposed to be implied that was what he was there to do originally, was to drive his car into the lake with Mary's dead body.
But is he escaping punishment then? I like the In Water. That one is my canon ending. I think that ending fits more with the overall theme of the game. But he's still kind of escaping punishment.
I don't know if he's escaping punishment so much as taking responsibility.
Yeah, but he doesn't leave a note for anyone to be like, hey, my name is James Sunderland, and, I killed my wife. It was a very selfish reason, and now I'm going to kill myself too.
I feel like the fact that you're going to find water in James's lungs and no water in Mary's lungs are probably a good enough indicator of what happened. If they're ever found. I don't think you need to tell everybody what happened to take responsibility for it. I think, he's realizing, you know what? I'm a piece of shit that killed his wife. I should not try to get another wife again. Ever.
Yes.
I'm going to join the one that I have in the big nature pool here.
Here's the big question. When we get the movie, what ending do you think the movie's going to give it?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's going to be a happy ending.
It's going to be the Maria ending.
It's going to be a happy ending because American audiences would lose their fucking mind if this person they've been following for 2 hours and some odd minutes kills himself at the end of it,
If it's good, it'll be the In Water ending. If it's okay, I'd also be fine with the Leave ending. I would genuinely be upset. The only way I'd be upset if it's the Maria ending, and I know it's going to be the Maria ending, which pisses me off.
I would be furious if it's the Rebirth or Maria.
I'm still okay with the Rebirth ending just because it comes out of left field, and also it's like, oh, this is a fun callback to Silent Hill 1, so I'll go ahead and give it that.
But
it's also really creepy, which is why I love it. It fits a horror trope that I love.
If Christoph Gans has the balls that he's shown that he has in previous movies, the ending will be the UFO ending.
That's the canon ending because he shows up in Silent Hill 3 in that ending.
And Harry Mason's in the UFO, so just fucking bring back Sean Bean.
That would be that would be so good.
That would be hilarious.
Sean Bean is in that movie. No, if he has the actual balls, it'll be whatever ending is the ending, and the after credit scene is the dog ending.
That'd be great.
I'd
love to see the dog.
Avengers style fucking after credit scene where it's just the dog and the fucking control panel.
Oh, better idea. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with Clue.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, I know where you're going.
That has multiple endings, yeah.
So you just basically play out the In Water ending. And then that's how it could have happened. But it could have also been this. And then just do all the endings over and over again. Or you distribute each copy of the film with a different ending, much like Clue did when it first came out, and compile them all on home video release when it's time. That would be, I know everybody be like, oh, that's what Clue did. It would be appropriate. It would be appropriate for this.
I'd be fine with that. Actually.
It'd be awesome. Yeah. While we're on James's piece of shit topic, which I don't think we've ever left that topic from this episode, he wears an army jacket, right?
Army jacket? I think it's a green jacket.
Just a green jacket? Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an army jacket, but it's very much just a regular jacket. Like it's not supposed to be stylistic, but it's supposed to be something that average, if anything, if I could think of it.
Like it's a jacket that you could get from an army surplus store.
Do you think he's pulling some because they never mention he's in he never brings up being in the military. Do you think he's pulling some I got this cool military jacket so people will think I'm important type of deal? Like maybe in the hospital?
No, I think it's just a stylistic choice of having a jacket like Leon's weird puffy jacket. Like we have to give him something cool kind of thing. I don't think it means anything.
I think the green really works well with his hair. So maybe that's why.
Look, I'll admit, maybe I'm a little too much in the sauce here, but I don't know. I'm just he never brings it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably just, it's a jacket. It's kind of grubby like he is. So, I don't know. I don't think it has any deeper meaning. I think it's just, granted, James is a piece of shit. I could see him being a piece of shit like that. But we haven't been given any other indication that he is a piece of shit like that. Like, he's just a regular piece of shit, not a stolen honor piece of shit. So, I don't know. There's a bunch of pieces of shit. There are so many different subtypes for piece of shit. But I don't think James is one of those pieces of shit.
How many times can you say piece of shit in a sentence?
Fucking watch me go.
Right, anything else that you guys want to say? I think we're running out of stuff to say, so.
I mean, we talked about the endings, all of them. We talked about how I'm writing In Water is the best ending.
The movie will have I think the movie will have an ending that just doesn't tell you either way. That's my guess.
It'll be Leave. It will be Leave, and he'll adopt Laura.
If it's Leave, I'm gonna be pissed.
I don't think we're gonna get an ending. I'm hoping because they've confirmed Sean Bean's in the movie, so I'm hoping it's there's a situation where James's story doesn't really get concluded, and it's like Sean Bean's like, oh, I'll take Laura because I need a child, and I'll come with my wife who I came to save, and we'll leave the town. Where do you can go, James? I'm just gonna go keep looking for my wife. Maybe she's at this thing, which I forgot what's the last. Oh, the hotel. He's like, I'll go see if she's at the hotel. Have a good day, and the movie ends, and you just don't know what his fate is.
That's a horrible ending.
Better than the ending to Return to Silent Hill. And there's another thing I completely forgot because I'm scrolling through the Wikipedia because what Ken told me genuinely pissed me off. I totally forgot that all the dead bodies you find in this game are just modeled after James because he's a piece of shit.
Which is all the more reason why I think that In Water is the best ending. Because of that, yes, all the dead bodies are modeled after James. And now that could just be economics for the game. That could also be, a point that they're trying to make. But if you're James and you're seeing yourself as dead bodies everywhere, that's got to be saying something, man.
Well, just more of the guilt of killing someone weighing on you, especially someone that you know. Like, I've never killed anybody, but I'm guessing that guilt stays with you.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on what kind of a person you are.
Especially if you killed your wife.
I don't know. James is a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
So, maybe pieces of shit don't feel like that.
I don't really keep around those kind of people to tell you.
Fair enough.
On that note, I listened to a true crime podcast, and they recently did an episode about this person that wasn't caught for 26 years. He only ever killed one person, and it was back in the 80s. And then when they DNA caught up and stuff to technology, he drove himself. He left a note for his then wife and was like, oh, I'm, you're going to find out some stuff about me. It's all true. I've had to live with this guilt for a long time. So that definitely does happen, is a piece of shit murder somebody and then just can't ever bring themselves to do it again. And they just have to live with it. But also, how long did it take you guys to notice that mannequin that you get the flashlight from is dressed as Mary?
Yes.
Right away.
I've always noticed that.
This time.
Oh, okay. It was one of my earlier playthroughs this year where I was like, oh, that's weird.
It's okay. One of my other favorite tidbits I can think of is there's a puzzle where you go into a room and you have to put in three basically stone plaques. It's like the seducer and all the other stuff, the pig and something else. And people usually say that's supposed to basically signify, James, Angela, and Eddie. But you could also basically conclude that all three of those plaques also have to do with James because he's also all three of those things.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah.
God, James is a piece of shit.
Oh, absolutely. Straight up sucks.
I wanted to say it again.
That's what made this game so hard for me in 2020 when I played this and I had such a bad review of that. Is that it was just too much at a time where I couldn't handle it. And this game is just very depressing.
Funny enough, there's another spin-off that no one ever talks about that actually has to do with this game too. This game does inspire a lot of the rest of the series. Besides maybe 3, it inspires the rest. Because like I said, you can always argue that the letter with Walter is technically canon for 4 and things like that. But I don't
know if I would say that 4 was inspired by it. I think everything after 4 is cursed by this game.
That's fair too.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. But one thing that whenever you're going down the SHHS, the Silent Hill Historical Society, you hear boat noises, and part of Silent Hill's backstory is that that there was a boat that basically killed everyone on board. It was like one of those steam line boats or whatever. You can also argue that, or not argue, there's the Silent Hill arcade game where the whole game takes place on that boat. Yeah, the arcade game is pretty cool because but it also suffers from the other thing because there's I think towards the end of the game you basically the one of the common enemies is basically just Pyramid Head. So you're basically eating quarters at that point. But the game basically ends as every arcade game ends, where I think there's multiple endings, but it's like nothing good happens because we want you to keep pumping quarters into this fucking thing.
Man, okay, and see there's the problem. There's the problem right there. Every Silent Hill game after 4 has had fucking Pyramid Head in it. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. That's James's thing. That's always been James's thing. And, oh wait, no. Origins didn't, did it?
No, Origins had the Butcher.
Yeah, which is completely different. But that's still understandable, though. The Butcher is an accurate depiction of, what's his name? Grady? Travis?
Yes, Travis Grady.
The Butcher is a manifestation of things within Travis. Pyramid Head is a manifestation of things within James. Pyramid Head is not a manifestation of any other person in the fucking games. Only James. But he's in all of these other games because Konami learned the wrong damn lesson. Like they always do. I know I went off on a soapbox being support the game, let Konami know. And yes, we want to make sure that we get more Silent Hill stuff. We want Konami to cater to our whims, that we love this franchise, and they're leaving it for no reason. They're being stupid. This is money on the table. But at the same time, they fucking keep doing this. They miss the point of their own game. And it's something that will continually annoy me.
It's funny too, because there's a canon Silent Hill comic or something. And Masahiro Ito has gone on to state too, he's I don't know why people keep using the original design of Pyramid Head. I created a white Pyramid Head for the comic that I think the helmet's designed a little bit differently and it does carry around a spear. And he's that Pyramid Head is supposed to be used for everyone if they want to use it, but they keep using the James version. He's it genuinely pisses me off.
Good. I'm glad he said something about that.
I'm glad it pisses somebody off almost as much as it pisses me off.
Oh yeah, no, he hates it. There's 3 things I know about Masahiro on Twitter is he hates when people try to correct him because one thing is, which I found out through his Twitter is whenever people are oh yeah, I can't believe it's snowing in Silent Hill, and he's it's ash or it's snow, and people are oh, it's snowing ash. And then people will be no, you're wrong, Masahiro Ito. It's always been ash. And he blocks them. And he's I fucking wrote the game. It's snow. It has always been snow. And then I think he's gone on to say he's as much as I love him, I think creating Pyramid Head was one of my worst decisions ever because I hate him being used for everything now.
Well, now he's got the Sakura lady.
Yeah.
Or the cherry blossom.
Oh, what's the name of that? What's the name?
Silent Hill. Oh my God. demo thing.
No. What is
Right?
the
The
name of that
Messege.
character? They had a poll.
Oh,
and
isn't
they
it
had
Cherry Blossom?
Yeah, they had to pull the name it. It was like Sakura Head.
It was
Yeah.
Sakura Head.
Yeah.
God, that's so fucking stupid.
Yes, it is.
Bodie McBoatface.
Bodie McBoat.
Pretty much.
So apparently today is PT is 10 years old now. Do you think that game would have revitalized the franchise, or do you think that it would have just been Kojima weirdness and it would have not been as good as we have built it up in our heads? Because he was going to have Norman Reedus be the main character, which I think lately Kojima, in my personal opinion, I love Metal Gear Solids 1 through 4. His fascination with celebrities being in his games is really just kind of making the game not as interesting as it could be.
Oh, they've talked about that. Like, I think, what is it? What the fuck is his name? The guy that voices Snake now.
Oh, Kiefer Sutherland?
Is it Kiefer Sutherland? No. The David Hayter.
David Hayter. Yes.
David Hayter has been known to be. He actually has confirmed, like in an interview, he's like, I actually super fucking hate Hideo Kojima, because Hideo Kojima throughout the entire Metal Gear series has been trying to get him replaced by a celebrity. That's why it's Kiefer Sutherland in Metal Gear 5.
Well,
yeah.
also,
Hayter said that he had to, every time a new Metal Gear Solid game came up, he had to go in and audition for Snake again. And it's like, that's just fucked up, dude. Like, I mean, I could understand maybe for Metal, like the sequel, but then having to do it 2 more times after that, it's just like,
Well,
that's the voice. Yeah.
Well, several more times, because don't forget the PSP games too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Metal Gear. But, like, okay, going back to PT and Silent Hills, which is what the game is going to be called.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it, too.
Me too. I
Yes.
wish we would have got it.
Like,
I think it would have revitalized.
I think it would have revitalized the name. I think it would have been massively different than anything that came before it. Because he was working with Guillermo del Toro. He was working with Junji Ito. Like, it was going to be a big hell of a thing. And if you go back and watch those trailers, it was stuff that nothing had ever approached Silent Hill before.
And that's because Guillermo del Toro, I guess the script was done, so they know all the twists and things and everything. And Guillermo del Toro has been known to say, like, on interview too, he's like, that's probably the fucking scariest thing I've written to date.
And I will always mourn it. Always.
It'll get leaked in like another 10 years.
I want it like now, though.
They'll find it on a hard drive.
Yeah. And I think it would have been fine, but I think we would have suffered the same issue where we would have gotten Silent Hills, and then we would have gotten Silent Hills 2, and they still would have fired Kojima, and then we would have gotten like a handful of shitty fucking sequels, and then Silent Hill would be dead again.
Silent Hills Survive.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, there was no way that he was never not getting fired, unfortunately. It is what it is in this case.
Mm-hmm. That would have been a great Silent Hill game, though. I would have probably peed my pants at some point during that game.
I could have never finished PT. It's too scary for me.
I loved PT so much.
I was still living with my mom and brother when that came out, and I had headphones on and I was playing it, and then I took it off. Like, I got too scared, so I shut my PlayStation off and I went out to go talk to a human being, because I was like, I'm too fucking freaked out. And they had gone out to get dinner, but didn't tell me. So I was like freaking the fuck out. I was like, oh my God, no one is here. Like,
where'd they go? They all died.
I texted them. I'm like, where did you go? Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty funny. Oh, that's a pretty good story, sir.
Okay, well, also
I don't think we have anything else, do we?
Well, I'm so glad, because technically after this would be would be Homecoming, right, Mike?
For the show, yes. Homecoming's next, and then next year we'll do Downpour, and then there'll hopefully be more out by then. So there will be more out by then for sure. The remake.
Everything we talked about is going to be brought up in Silent Hill Homecoming, because Silent Hill Homecoming was supposed to be Silent Hill 5, and in a weird way is a sequel to this.
Doesn't
Actually,
Case 2 have like a V on it? Am I just misremembering?
Silent Hill 5 was supposed to be a sequel to all the games, but I'll get into that whenever we talk about, because I love about all the Silent Hill games is there's so much cut content from like all of them that there's enough to be a whole other different game.
Oh yeah, but I'm talking about the case to Silent Hill Homecoming. Isn't there like a five, like Roman numeral 5 behind Homecoming, like where the title is?
Yeah, it's in the weird, like the sigil in the background. Like they toned it down, but there was supposed to be a 5. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of cut content to this series. Some spookier than others.
All right, I think we should go to Shelf Stacker Box. And Ken, why don't you lead us in?
I struggled with this actually, only because I have played it so many times. I don't know. It's one of those things that, I love the game, but do I love it for any new reasons this time? And I don't know. I think I do. So I am going to have to put it on the shelf, I think. It was close, though. It was real close to being a stack.
All right. And Joe?
Before I go on to mine, I'm going to the canceled Silent Hill games to see what's there. Apparently, they had it for the PS3 and 360. Silicon Knights was supposed to create a Silent Hill sequel.
Fuck off.
So that got canceled. But this is very much shelf. I love this game. It's near and dear to my heart. A lot of stuff in this game I wish would be basically I feel like if you ever create horror movies, this is at least top of the list of what you should play to have ideas from, because so many like different concepts, like everything from, you having to keep your health low, you looking at items and everything. Like it's such a amazing evolution of what we used to have to what we have now, especially comparing it to like most games now where it's like, oh, well, to get the in water ending, you have to keep James's health low and keep looking at the picture, as opposed to now where it's like, oh, you're come across choice, press A to do good choice, press B to do bad choice. This affects your ending. And like everything about this game, I completely love the characters, the story, the tone, the weapons, just absolutely, even like everything down to like Pyramid Head being like not an antagonist, but the monster that falls into like my other love of like what they've been doing with the Resident Evil series and what they did which was Resident Evil 3, of having a stalker type enemy in your games. And I'm hoping they don't translate that into the remake, because I don't think I could physically handle a Pyramid Head chasing me through like a hotel. I would probably shit my pants. But I'm excited. I love the series. I am, as much as I hate to admit it, I am excited for the remake. Even if it does suck, I'm still glad it exists. And I'm hoping that hopefully, if good end for that would be the remake does well enough, but there's enough fan complaint to where Konami's like, okay, we'll remake Silent Hill 1 and 3, but we're not going with Bloober. But yeah, shelf.
Okay. And Nate?
I mean, this is going on my shelf. Like I said earlier, it's a game I think about quite a lot. I don't think there will ever be a game that will handle this amount of depressing topics in one game and handle it really well to where it doesn't like fumble the ball at the end. I am hopefully I am very optimistic, I guess, about this remake. I'll be there to play it within launch. I don't know if I'm buying it at launch, but yeah, I hope Konami and Bloober Team nail the remake, and it is a fantastic way to play this game.
All right. I watched that trailer while we were talking earlier, and it actually looks pretty damn good. I'm like, maybe you guys will get me to buy a game early on so we can put it on the show sooner than later. I guess the only way I'll spend $60-$70 on it is if I do it early for the show.
And you should.
I might. We'll see. Because I have another reason to use my PS5, so, there's that.
It is also coming to Steam.
Yeah, but I don't think the Steam, my PC couldn't run it.
As far as I've seen, the Steam Deck's supposed to be able to handle it.
Oh, well, okay, that would work. But playing a horror game on a big TV was quite good.
But do you just buy do you have a Xbox remote?
Yeah.
Just do what I do. Just go buy like a $20 like dock and just dock it to your TV.
Can you recommend one that you have? Because I was looking at one last night, and it was going to be like $100 for the Anchor dock, and it doesn't come with a cable for the dock. So that was like another $20.
All of them are going to be like that. You have to buy a separate cable, but I have one that's like $20 I can recommend. Give me like half a second.
Yeah, no pressure.
Okay, I'll go last. I'm going to put this on the shelf. I had a really good time running through this game. We've had a great conversation talking about it, and you guys have made me appreciate it more than I did originally. And It really is just when I played this last, it was the timing. The timing was terrible for me. I was upset with the show because my friends had quit the show. I was upset not knowing what was going on. I was upset with the world not knowing what's going on. And it wasn't in the right mindset to play a very depressing game in a game where I knew that you technically are a bad guy. And it just didn't mesh well. But this time playing through it, not being in a depressed mindset, looking at it and just appreciating the graphics, the gameplay, everything about this game, shelf. Great horror game. Really had a good time.
Hell yeah.
I'm glad that my opinion changed, and I'm really glad that we finally did this because it needed to be recovered. And now we have actually recovered all the Silent Hill games on the show that you guys, well, not all, but all the ones that you guys, the couple that you guys missed, Joe and Ken, are now recovered with you.
All right.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. Unfortunately, Chelsea and Blair weren't able to make this recording. Blair wasn't having. It's just like he's like, I'm not in the mood. I'm not in a good place to talk about a very depressing game. So I'm like, I get it.
That's fair.
But he unfortunately wasn't able to make it today.
Hell
Yeah.
there.
Well,
Yeah, this is not a fun game to play. But it is an important game to play.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. So all right, and Nate, where can people find you at?
You can find me on TikTok at NateDoesComedy79.
And if you enjoyed this episode, you can find over 650 other episodes of this podcast. Everything we do is on Podbean. If you want to support the show, we do it at Patreon. For a little dog, you vote. We have 1 to 2 polls every month. Lately, it's been 1, but it will be 2 again soon. I have plenty of ideas once we get out of Spooktober. But definitely go support the show. A little's $1. It makes me happy. And you get to affect the show. You make shit happen that wouldn't be put on the show otherwise. So, hey, that should make you feel good. And we have a Discord. Please join our Discord. Chat with us. It's free. We're always happy to have new people talk with us. You will see a link in the show notes of every single episode. So definitely go do that. And when you're saw my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Has Free, you can follow her on TikTok and Instagram. You will see a link in the show notes to her link tree. So definitely go check her out. And give a shout out to A Gamer Looks at 40 with Bill Tucker. He's on the show quite often. Definitely go support his show. And I think that's everything I need. Oh, and please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, audio only. And rate and reviews wherever we get your podcast. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Song.
Bye, everybody.